From creepy giant bones to strange conspiracies, caves are a hotbed for creepy and disturbing discoveries. And while in most cases scientists are able to give us some answers, there are definitely some mysteries that have left them at a loss for words. Welcome back, most amazing crew. I am your host Kennedy, and I hope you brought your splunking gear, because today we're talking about the top 10 unsettling cave discoveries that scientists can't explain. Let's get into it. Starting us off at number 10 is an underwater graveyard. For thousands of years, the island of Madagascar was filled with all kinds of interesting and strange species that couldn't be found anywhere else on the globe. But roughly 2,000 years back, when mankind discovered the island, the carefully balanced ecosystem filled with giant tortoises and elephant birds started deteriorating. While we don't know for sure what exactly caused the seismic shift in Madagascar's ecosystem, paleontologists exploring an underwater cave back in 2014 happened to come across some incredible, if not terrifying, fossilized remains from some of the out-of-this-world creatures that are now long extinct. The most shocking being what was left of a giant gorilla-sized lemur. But what they have not been able to figure out is how the lemur bones got into the underwater cave in the first place, considering it submerged under 82 feet of water and all. According to National Geographic, there's some belief that the giant bones could have been carried there by the current, or perhaps the area is newly or relatively newly underwater. Truth be told, we have no clue. I'm just grateful I can't be chased down by a 400-pound lemur if I ever decide to venture out to Madagascar. Next up at number 9 is a UFO. Okay, listen, it wouldn't be a complete top 10 list without a little bit of conspiracy theory now, would it? Back in 2014, a UFO enthusiast claimed to have spotted an alien spaceship inside one of the many ancient icy caves of Antarctica. According to the photo, about half of what looks identical to the quintessential flying saucer can be seen sticking out from the cave mouth, and many believers theorized that the craft crash-landed into the ice and got stuck. Other not so alien inclined have speculated that it could be linked to German World War II top-secret war technology, but truth be told, neither of these theories have any facts to back them up. While there is a part of me that would kind of love it if the strange gray saucer in the photo really was a crash-landed alien spacecraft, at this point in time there is just not enough information to back up the claim, and scientists are not buying it. That being said, no one has really come forward with a different theory yet, so I mean, who knows, right? Next up at number 8 is a Mayan Labyrinth. You know the maze from The Shining? Well, if you thought that one was scary, then just be glad you didn't live in the Mayan times. Back in 2008, researchers uncovered a mind-boggling underground labyrinth built from stone pyramids and temples in Mexico. But the creepiest part was when they discovered that some of the tunnels inside the maze were entirely immersed in water. And while we can't be sure exactly why the Mayans created a labyrinth with water elements capable of drowning you, there is one theory. Apparently, ancient Mayans held a belief that when you died, you had to follow a dog with night vision through a treacherous water-filled journey, facing dangerous challenges before your soul could finally be put to rest. So either this terrifying water-filled maze was some kind of homage to this belief, or some have even theorized it was created to practice these treacherous challenges prior to their deaths. Either way, I will not be entering no matter what. Coming in at number 7 is Joseph Henry Loveless. Back in the 19th century, there was a terrifying criminal running rampant in Idaho. His name was Joseph Henry Loveless, and he became notorious for his connections with bootlegging and counterfeit. But each time he was caught, he always managed to escape. Fast forward a few years, and Loveless got married, but it didn't take her long to figure out that he was, well, just about the worst guy on the planet. His new bride ended up filing for divorce, something that was outrageously uncommon back then, so you know it had to have been bad. Not long after his divorce from his first wife, he met Agnes, and the pair married quickly, but then in 1916, her remains were found hacked into pieces with an axe near where the couple had been living. Loveless, of course, became a prime suspect for the crime, and in an attempt to flee, ended up being captured and arrested by the local police. But as he always did, he managed to escape jail and was never seen again. That was until 1979, when a family exploring a cave outside of St. Anthony, Idaho, were shocked to find a burlap sack-wrapped torso. Then a few years later in 1991, another explorer came across a hand, and the following investigations uncovered 2 legs. Eventually, with the help of DNA, they were able to test the uncovered body parts and connect it to the notorious Joseph Loveless. But many questions remained. Who killed him, and where the heck is his head? Coming in at number 6 is Homo Floresiensis. Nearly 20 years ago, scientists discovered the fossilized remains of a very small human inside a cave in Indonesia called Liang Bua Cave. Upon this strange discovery, there were a lot of different opinions going around. A group of Australian scientists were calling it a newly discovered species of human and promptly named it Homo Floresiensis. But there were also tons of skeptics claiming there was no proof it was a distinct species. Tragically, the fossilized bones ended up being quite damaged by one of the paleoanthropological skeptics who was studying them to try and disprove the Australian theory of real-life hobbits, as they had been nicknamed. But with what we know today, we have been able to prove the naysayers wrong, as it turns out the very first skeleton really was a distinct new species of human, or old species of human, depending on how you look at it. The first skeleton found, named LB1, is estimated to have been a 30-year-old woman and stood about 3 feet tall, and since that first discovery, many more of her kind have been found. Apparently they lived about 100,000 to 60,000 years ago, and through extensive DNA testing, scientists have been able to confirm once and for all there is no connection to modern-day little people, as this had been a common defense used by skeptics. But what they don't know is just how many of these humans walked the earth and what it was that made them go extinct all those years ago. Next up at number 5 are giant bones. As if giant lemur bones weren't enough, inside the Pansian Dadong cave, archaeologists uncovered even more impossibly giant and terrifying bones. Located in southern China, the bones of over 40 different species of mammal were discovered. Among them were the bones of ancient rhinos, elephant-like stegodons, and even a Bigfoot-like Gigantopithecus. But the weirdest part wasn't the new species or even the large size of their remains. It was in fact that the cave was 1,600 feet above sea level with nothing but a sheer rock face leading to its entrance. So the question was, how the heck did these creatures get up there? Even weirder was that many showed signs of human manipulation or interference, like burning or cutting, which seemed to suggest that maybe humans had placed the animals up there, but that only brings up more questions. How did the humans get up there with the giant animals to begin with? We may never know. Next up at number 4 are stone circles. While exploring the Brunakell cave in 2016, National Geographic reported finding a strange single change around 100 feet from the cave's entrance, and inside there was an unexplainable series of rings seemingly constructed by about 400 stalagmites. Now, that much stalagmite apparently weighs about 2 tons, but even stranger was that they all appeared to be cut to the same height and were carefully arranged in the circle formation. They didn't appear to be a naturally existing formation. So far, no one has been able to confirm how they got there. Some naysayers chalk it up to a weird coincidence or due to hibernating bears, but most believe that some purposefully moved them to where they are. Plus, there are traces that fire had been lit and burned along the circle, and that bones had also been burnt there at some point. So the question is, who did this? Well, it's clear that it predates Homo sapiens, and it's been radiocarbon dated to about 176,000 years ago, which would point us to Neanderthal times. So there is some speculation they could have done this. But of course, with any good mystery, there is also a conspiracy that aliens left the strange rings in the cave, but at this point, we don't really know what's true. Coming in at number 3 is skull cups. Despite what history would have us believe, England has quite a dark and twisted history with many skeletons in its closet. In fact, long before Cheddar was famous for its delicious cheese, the people of Cheddar were up to some less than proper activity, specifically the butchering and eating of other humans. Deep in the caverns of Gough's Cave, archaeologists have come across many human remains dating back roughly 15,000 years. But the weirdest find were the skulls that appeared to be carefully carved into crockery, seemingly for the purpose of serving wine and tea. The other Another theory is that the skulls were part of some kind of ritual, but either way, it seems after they killed and ate the victims, they would remove their skulls and fashion them into cups for their tea, and it doesn't get much creepier than making dishes out of a human body, in my opinion. Coming in at number 2 is a human sacrifice. The Acton Tunachil Muknal, or the Cave of the Crystal Sepulchre in Belize, has yielded many Mayan artifacts over the years, but the most infamous was the discovery that the cave was once upon a time a site for ritual human sacrifice. Now, I don't know about you, but maybe the most terrifying thing I could think of finding in a cave would be the skeletons of sacrificed people from thousands of years ago. I mean, doesn't that just sound like every movie where some unsuspecting hiker gets possessed? Well, when researchers walked in, they happened upon skeletons laying among ceremonial artifacts and laid on top of their own altars, clearly killed at the hands of a human. The crazy part was the wide age range of sacrifices. There were skeletons of all ages from 1 to 40, but the most shocking was that of what appeared to be a 17-year-old boy. The skeleton was found with an utterly smashed vertebrae, and they hypothesized that he died an excruciatingly slow and painful death. Today, calcium crystals have covered his bones completely, making him appear like some gruesome snow monster, and you can bet I will never be checking this one out for myself. And last up today in our number 1 spot are mini coffins. One June afternoon back in 1836, a group of boys were exploring the Arthur's Seat in Scotland, a volcanic mountain found in Edinburgh. While on their trek, they stumbled across a little cave and decided to check out what was inside. The first clue that they should have maybe left it alone was that the entrance to said cave had been blocked off with a few pieces of slate. But still, the boys managed to get past and make their way in. Once they were able to peek their heads through, they were shocked to find 17 miniature coffins, complete with terrifying little figurines dressed neatly in little handmade clothes and nestled inside, posed to look like they were dead people. I mean, that could not be a good sign. Of course, once local newspapers got a hold of it, townspeople were scared it was witchcraft, black magic, or some kind of occult magic, which frankly I can't blame them for. The current theory, however, is much darker. Some believe that the 17 coffins were made and buried to represent the 17 victims of the notorious body snatchers William Burke and William Eyre, and were likely there to give the families of the lost victims some closure. But it is just a theory after all. We still have no clue who made them or any clue as to the real reason why they're inside the cave to begin with, and it's highly unlikely we will ever know the truth. Well, there you have it, guys. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time.